What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, we're going to be taking a look at PFF's top 50 free agent prospects and how a couple of them, they actually have landing here in New England. So I'm going to be going over the players that they have signing with New England, kind of giving my 2 cents on whether I think it's a good idea to sign the player or not, what they could bring, and why PFF has the Patriots signing them, along with the contract predictions that PFF has the Patriots signing these free agents to. Now, there is only going to be a couple here. This isn't PFF kind of going for each team and predicting every free agent that they think will sign with the team. This is just them predicting the top 50 free agent destinations. So first off here, the Patriots have J.C. Jackson re-signing with the Patriots. They actually have J.C. Jackson as the 6th best free agent in this free agency class. And they have J.C. Jackson being signed to a 4-year deal worth $72 million with $56 million guaranteed. Now, this one's pretty obvious. I feel like this one doesn't have to be explained too much. But PFF basically just kind of going out and saying elite corners are not easy to find in the NFL, especially number 1 starting quality cornerbacks that are going to make an absolute difference that J.C. Jackson does. Luckily enough for the Patriots, the last couple of years, minus last year, they were able to have 2 top cornerbacks in the league in Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson. Once Stephon Gilmore left, the Patriots already had a number 1 cornerback that they could plug in with J.C. Jackson. Unfortunately, the depth behind J.C. Jackson is pretty uncut. It's pretty unclear because there's visibly nothing behind him, let alone a number 1 starting cornerback. The Patriots barely have a number 2 quality cornerback with J.C. Jackson in New England. They also went on to say how J.C. Jackson finished with an 87.9 coverage grade that ranked 4th among all cornerbacks that played at least 150 coverage snaps this past year. J.C. Jackson was also the best man coverage cornerback in 2021, posting an elite grade of 90.1 in coverage when it came to man coverage. And we all know that Bill Belichick mainly wants to and mainly desires to run specifically a man coverage defense. Obviously, not exactly what happened in 2021 for the most part, having to play a lot more zone because New England didn't have the proper personnel. But if Belichick wants to get back to that man coverage, obviously retaining J.C. Jackson is going to be a top priority. Obviously, I 120% stick behind re-signing J.C. Jackson. I'm also a big fan that they didn't just say, hey, the Patriots are going to go, they're going to place that franchise tag on him, and that's going to be the end-all, be-all. I'm not a fan at all of J.C. Jackson playing under the franchise tag in 2022. I actually think that hurts the Patriots more in the sense of cap-wise, but also you're not getting him signed through the future. This is just a problem that's going to be pushed down another year. You're not going to get any draft capital back for him. Either you'd sign him to the franchise tag and you trade him, or you sign him to that franchise tag and you get an extension done, but just not a fan of him playing under that 1 year, $17 to $18 million on that franchise tag. So kind of eliminating that problem of a number 1 cornerback for the Patriots for at least the next 4 years, I think is an excellent move by the Patriots. So again, love this move. Now, next up here, PFF has the Patriots going offensively here with their 42nd best ranked free agent in 2022 with wide receiver JuJu SmithSchuster, obviously who has spent his entire career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, if you guys watched my video about 4 free agent receivers I think the Patriots could target, spoiler alert, JuJu SmithSchuster was one of those guys. There's a lot of rumors going around about how JuJu SmithSchuster could be looking to, for a 2nd consecutive season, sign a 1-year prove-it deal to try to really vamp up his market for the following offseason in which he can totally just cash out. Obviously, JuJu didn't have that opportunity this season due to him having a season-ending injury, not expecting his market to be too high. Obviously, still a great receiver, good track record. He's going to have a market, but it's not nearly as high as it could have been if, of course, he played the entire season. So PFF predicts New England signing him to just a one-year deal worth $8 million with about $6.25 million guaranteed. I actually like this. I will say I'm not a fan of the one-year deal. Again, this kind of just pushes that need for one wide receiver help, but to a number one wide receiver, even more down for the Patriots. Like, JuJu SmithSchuster is an excellent system fit for the New England Patriots. Good size, good build, sure-handed receiver, really good after the catch, and he plays in the slot, which is where New England needs explosive plays the most. Now, while he can play in the slot, and that's where he's been graded the best since he's entered the NFL, he can also play on the perimeter, which does give New England that versatility with a wide receiver that they really need. I definitely like the idea of adding JuJu SmithSchuster for a plethora of reasons, some of which I just named. And I also think that for a guy that could be plugged in, easily be a 1,000-yard receiver for you in 2022, and honestly could very well be plugged in and be your number one wide receiver, and only getting him for about $8 million with only $6 million guaranteed could very, very well be a steal. But, you just obviously wish that you could get somebody like JuJu SmithSchuster signed to a multi-year contract. But again, JuJu might only be looking to want to sign a one-year contract. And obviously, coming off a season-ending injury, does Bill Belichick want to go out and sign a guy like that to a multi-year contract? Obviously, a lot of questions there. So it is understandable. Only 25 years old, so he is still in his prime. And like I said before, I just think that he fits the mold of this Patriots system very, very well. You look at what New England needs. They need help on the slot, a little bit on the perimeter, but definitely in the slot. They need explosiveness. They need that number one guy for Mac Jones. They need a short-handed receiver, but they need a guy with a really good route tree who can turn a 10-yard slant into, 15, 20 yards. And that's what JuJu's going to bring. Now, next up here, PFF predicts the Patriots going back to defense with the same position they originally targeted, and that is the cornerback position. So PFF predicts the Patriots are going to double dip at cornerback within the top 50 free agents. This time they have the Patriots targeting cornerback Javarius Ward from Kansas City and having him sign here in New England to a 3-year contract worth $34.5 million with $19.5 million guaranteed. Now, I am a fan of this player. I think Ward definitely fits this defensive scheme. He fits what Bill Belichick and just this defense in general has proven for decades to want to do. I'm not exactly sure where PFF thinks the Patriots are going to get all of this money. Obviously, they have J.C. Jackson making, on average, annually just a little bit under $20 million. And then, on average, annually for Ward, he'd be making just over $10 million per year. But if New England can somehow find the flexibility, again, I absolutely love it. Even if you bring J.C. Jackson back, you're not completely putting aside all of the need you have within the secondary. You bring J.C. Jackson back, you're getting the secondary you had last year ultimately. And last year, it wasn't bad, but it was inconsistent at times. And like I said, the Patriots defense wasn't ultimately able to do what they wanted because of the lack of proper depth at specifically the cornerback position, but definitely within their secondary. New England loves to play a lot of man-to-man. But last year, again, had to play a lot of zone because they didn't have that proper scheme fit with their defensive backs, especially after trading Stephon Gilmore. Bringing in Ward gives you that real stapled secondary. Because now you have J.C. Jackson signed under contract. He's obviously your number one. You have Javarius Ward now who can be plugged in as your number two. And now you're asking a guy like Jalen Mills to either play number three or play in kind of a rover situation, kind of switching between safety and corner. With that being said, New England's secondary should kind of reverse back to that elite form it was. Now, by no means do I expect it to go back to what it was a couple of seasons ago with J.C. Jackson, Jason McCourty, and Stephon Gilmore by any means, but it will definitely be improved from what it was in 2021. Ward gives the Patriots exactly what they need. There's a lot of cornerbacks that I would be okay with the Patriots targeted in free agency, but honestly, Ward is probably the best fit for the Patriots, specifically when it comes to a number 2 cornerback. I don't know how comfortable I would be with him being a number 1, but he was an excellent number 2 cornerback in Kansas City, and he primarily worked as a man-to-man cornerback. That's where he thrived. That's primarily what they were running there in Kansas City, but he was still able to run zone coverage when asked upon. He had a PFF grade of 71.2, which ranked 21st out of 116 cornerbacks, and finished with a coverage grade of 69.4. I do think under New England, Ward would actually play better than he did in Kansas City. New England just knows how to get the best out of defensive backs, especially in man-to-man coverage, which again is where Ward really shines. But also, New England has a much better pass rush than Kansas City does, so I think that would also help Ward out pretty tremendously. Again, the money is a little bit, and that'd probably be my most controversial part of this signing. Again, a 3-year, $34.5 million contract, averaging annually a little over $10 million between him and J.C. Jackson. That is just a lot of money between just 2 cornerbacks. I could see Belichick wanting to, head to the draft or another route to kind of try to slim that number down with a number 2 to number 3 corner. But that is going to be it for today's video. I want to know your guys' thoughts on the predictions that PFF has for the Patriots signings in free agency in just a couple of weeks. Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. You guys know that I will have you covered for breaking news, rumors, trades, free agent signings, releases, Patriots players that will be signing elsewhere, the draft, mock drafts, all of this amazing stuff. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and, of course, turn on that bell notification so you do get notified every time I post a video. But like always, I appreciate you guys for watching. Nothing but love, but always remember, go Pats.